Welcome back with more experience. Today, my top 10 favorite Pet Shop Boys songs as of today. May change tomorrow. I'm in a kind of a Pet Shop Boys phase at the moment. They're the kind of artists. They're one of my favorite acts of all time, I have to say. So I would say they're top 20 all-time favorite act of mine. But there are acts like the Pet Shop Boys or like Bob Dylan is someone like that who have something very distinctive, maybe in their voice or in the songwriting, where you really have phases of listening to them. Maybe it has something to do with at the moment the channel. I'm doing lots of Bond-centered videos, and maybe it has something to do with the fact that this must be the place I waited years to leave, from the Behavior album from 1990. This is one of those albums I'm listening non-stop to at the moment, but there won't be many songs from that album on that list. It's a great album, but there are so many great albums to pick from. But this song was initially composed as a Bond song. They were approached to make a song for the Living Daylights movie, but then of course a-ha became the ones who got to perform the title song. But the Pet Shop Boys made their own little Bond song, and after they weren't picked for the movie, they changed the lyrics. But so maybe because of the Bond feeling of that song, and so at the moment so occupied with my Bond videos that I thought about the Pet Shop Boys. But now the top 10, This Must Be the Place didn't make the top 10, as I said. Number 10 is a tie, so by that I can shoehorn in one more song, so it's in fact in top 11, I would say. It's two of their biggest hits. I would say both of those songs are among the 3, 4, 5 biggest hits. Always on My Mind from the Introspective album, and It's a Sin from Actually Pet Shop Boys. Those two songs are probably the most usual suspects in such a list, and rightfully so, they're great songs. Number 9, Before from Bilingual. I always loved that song. It has this summery feeling that the whole album, which is one of my, let's say, top 3, probably my second favorite Pet Shop Boys album. I once did a Pet Shop Boys album ranking video. I can't remember it exactly now, but I think Bilingual was my number 2 album in that video, and it probably still is my number 2 album. Introspective is my number 1 album. Yeah, that's as far as I can remember from that video. And number 8, that's probably the only song from the Behavior album I've talked about a couple of minutes ago. It's the big, it was the supposed big single for that album, Being Boring. The Pet Shop Boys really thought highly about that song. I think highly about that song too. It's like they're in my life. What for John Lennon or the Beatles was In My Life, I think this is for them. It's really a perfectly written song about nostalgia, about youth memories, and what happened to people you knew years ago, and things like that, relationships. Songwriting wise, it's one of the best songs. But I said supposed big hits. They thought they had a big hit on their hands with that song, but it was one of the first slight chart flops in the UK charts. At least it didn't chart very highly, but it's a great song nonetheless. Number 7, again, my second favorite Pet Shop Boys album, Bilingual. It's A Red Letter Day. It's like Go West Part 2. It's also with those Russian sounding choir things, but I think first of all, it's not a cover version like Go West. It's not an ironic cover or an ironic song. It sounds like a heartfelt song that Neil wrote himself. The lyrics, usually Neil writes the lyrics, and Chris and Neil, they both work on the music, but the lyrics are first and foremost by Neil. Yeah, it's a more serious kind of Go West song, and I really like the sense of humor of the Pet Shop Boys. But my all-time favorite songs of theirs are probably the more serious songs. Number 6, Can You Forgive Her? Now that's one of their more ironical songs. Someone gets ridiculed by their girlfriend in that song for liking disco and not liking rock music. You know, that's a funny concept, typical Pet Shop Boys lyrical concept, and it's a catchy song as well, and great song from very Pet Shop Boys. Number 5, Domino Dancing, and of course I'm referring to the long version, the album version. There's also on YouTube the video. There are two versions as videos: the single edit version and the album version. I really recommend the album version for the video and for the song itself to listen to. That's really, with some of their songs where there are shorter single edits for radio, often something gets lost about the the grandness and the scale of their productions. And Domino Dancing is one of those almost symphonic songs, like a pop symphony. And yeah, it's a brilliant song, and it has these Buena Vista Social Club vibes, but years before Raikuda made that Buena Vista Social Club documentary. And so very Cuban flavored song, but with typical Pet Shop Boys elements. Great song. Number 4, Suburbia. One of the earliest songs on that list, possibly the earliest song on that list. Yeah, I think it was the third. No, it was the fourth single. I think it was the fourth single. It's from their first album, Please. Very catchy song, and this song is like also a typical Pet Shop Boys in the way that it's about very daily, mundane things, but it sounds very dramatical. It sounds like it's about the Third World War or something. And if you read the lyrics, it's about suburbia. It's about being bored, and they make such a dramatic song of it, which in itself shows the kind of humor, the cheekiness of the Pet Shop Boys. Number 3, again like with Domino Dancing, it's from the same album, Introspective, and again with Domino Dancing I recommend the album version, the long version, Left to My Own Devices. The single edit is by far not one of my 10 favorite Pet Shop Boys songs or recordings, because so much of what makes this song so epic gets lost there. But this like I said with Domino Dancing, this symphonic thing with big orchestra, but lots of percussion things happening. It's a wild ride, that song. Number 2, that's more like a deep cut, I would say, The Survivors from Bilingual. So Bilingual is the album with the most songs on that list, 3 songs I think. It's a ballad. It sometimes reminds me of The Master Plan, the Great Oasis B-side. It has some elements in the melody and in the arrangement of that. And not sure, I think The Master Plan came out first. So don't know if the Pet Shop Boys listened to that and wanted to recreate that vibe, or maybe it was their own idea. Pet Shop Boys also, their songs often take lots of time to evolve. So some of their songs were written 10 years before they got released. So maybe Survival was in some box for 10 years. I don't know about the creation process of that song, but it's again no irony here that I can detect, and it's not this British sense of humor kind of songs. This is more like an universal song about emotions, and it sounds like an honest, almost like a gospel song, like a bit from the Being Boring category of songs. And yeah, I even prefer to The Great Being Boring. My number 1 song was their second single, I think, and it was the first flop, so to speak, Love Comes Quickly. With bad luck, the Pet Shop Boys could have been almost finished after they released that song, because the first song, West End Girls, was one of their biggest, if not their biggest hits, massive worldwide number 1 hit with the debut single. And so everyone expected a lot from the second single, and then they didn't want to repeat the formula of the first single, which is adorable, I think. So again, like with The Survivors, this is more of a serious song, a serious romantic song, a love song that feels heartfelt and isn't that sarcastic, or not sarcastic at all. So it's a completely different kettle of fish as West End Girls were. So I think they had the right instinct. So in order to omit being labeled a one-hit wonder, they decided to make the opposite of the first single. But the song was such a big flop compared to the first single. It still was a big hit in a way, but compared to the number one song, it was a song which failed to even make the British top 10. So it almost sealed their fate as a one-hit wonder. The people were like, okay, they had Western Girls and now they're going downhill. But of course, quickly after that, they had big hits again, and of course we know they are by no means a one-hit wonder. That just shows you that chart success or mainstream success doesn't say a lot about the quality of a song or how much a fandom of an act will love a certain song. I think Love Comes Quickly is a spectacular song, great lyrics, great melody, also great, if you like the 80s production, great 80s production. And yeah, also a very emotional song for me, I would say. Yeah, that was my ranking of my top 10 favorite Pet Shop Boys songs at the moment. My favorite B-side, by the way, today would be Shameless, which is, it sounds very much like Go West. It's from the same period, but I even prefer to Go West. Again, funny lyrics about fame and about the vanity that comes with that, and how you sell out to when you want to be famous, how you can quickly become a sellout if you're not careful. They were a great B-sides band, or they still are. They're still there, the Pet Shop Boys, and they're still a great B-sides band, if there's such a thing as B-sides, as there were B-sides like in the 80s or 90s. That means, but yeah, one of my favorite acts, and at the moment I'm like I said, I'm almost obsessed with them. But maybe that usually that phase will die down a bit, and then for a year I'm kind of healed of listening to them. But at the moment I'm almost entirely listening to them, or the Cars. The Cars is the other band I'm obsessed with at the moment. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.